Our next speaker is another good friend and magnificent woman leading an important agency. Alejandra Castillo has recently been appointed National Deputy Director of the Minority Business Development Agency in the Department of Commerce. In this role, she serves as the principal advisor to the National Director, and she assists in managing the day-to-day activities of the agency. Alejandra Castillo.
Well, good afternoon. I think it's a bit challenging to speak during lunch because, at the beginning you're very hungry, and at the end there's a little bit of a lethargy that starts to set in. So I'm hoping that some coffee is in the back. I will, first of all, thank you to Cristina Caballero and to Betty Baca. These two women have truly been leaders in our community, and it's always very nice to come to a gathering like this and see so many friends. I see in the back Tony Barajas, Carmen Delgado Botao, and Maricel Morales, who we've all been partners in crimes in one way or another. And I say that because in Washington, D.C., you have to have partners. And I use the term partners in crime very loosely, obviously. But I need to stress that the fact that you are in the capital of the U.S. Puts a particular responsibility on making sure that before you leave, if you're not from the D.C. area, that you take the time to either visit your congressional members or their staff. Never forget, staffers sometimes have more power than the member himself or herself. And voice your concerns. Give them a picture of what your communities look like. Give them a picture of what your businesses look like. Help them create that narrative as to why we need to continue to invest and support businesses throughout America. My role particularly is to support minority-owned businesses. At MBDA, which is an agency within the Department of Commerce, we have 5 regional agencies, and we support 46 centers. I tell you that because we are not a loan or a grant, we're not a loan agency. We do have grants for different organizations throughout the country, but we don't particularly provide financing. However, what we do is to make sure that you are able to access one of our business development specialists and have a consultant at your fingertips. My colleague from SBA mentioned getting ready. Absolutely. Getting ready is is more than 3/4 of success. So getting ready means getting the information, knowing where the technical assistance is, understanding where the financing opportunities lie, and making sure that you are partnered with those opportunities. And that's what we do. I wanted to make sure that, in a nutshell, just to capture what MBDA does, is we help you access capital, access contract, and access market. In order to do that, I have to highlight 3 particular programs that have been spearheaded by President Obama. The first one is the National Export Initiative, which I'm sure you've all heard of. President Obama announced that he wants to double exports in the next 5 years. And why is that? It's a very logical approach. We need to expand our markets. For too long, we focus on the domestic market, which it's enviable compared to the rest of the world, but it's not enough. It's not enough to support our growth. Therefore, through the National Export Initiative, which is an interagency collaborative process, but led in particular by the the International Trade Administration within the Department of Commerce, there's an entire effort to help companies identify markets, identify financing opportunities, and really help them enter these markets. Studies show that if a company tries to export and fails, it takes them 5 to 7 years to even reconsider exporting. Therefore, it is upon us to make sure that we provide the technical assistance and support to help you succeed in that. Now, in terms of minority-owned businesses, studies also show that minority-owned businesses are twice as likely to export than their white counterparts, and the reason is very logical. We have the cultural and linguistic ties that help us penetrate these markets. As a Latina, I always tell the story that my parents were exporting even before they even knew it. And the way they did that, it was, in the 70s, they would buy the radios and the TVs and take them with them on their trips to the Dominican Republic and sell them. Well, we still do that, but we do it in a very informal manner. The quest here is, how do we formalize that effort? How do we make it so that it is part of our national growth? And in collaboration with ITA, MBDA is engaging in that effort. We've taken several companies to China. We've taken several companies to Mexico, to several countries throughout Latin America as well as Africa, and we're looking at collaborative ways to do that. The other initiative that I need to stress, and it's critical because I thank SBA in particular for having taken this humongous undertaking, which is President Obama announced the creation of the Interagency Task Force on Federal Contracting for Small Businesses. And what that does is it invited the entire federal agency to look at how federal contracts are managed. We're talking about $500 billion of federal contracting money. 500. That is an enormous amount of money.